Catherine Violet Hubbard was a vivacious and kind little girl who fell victim to the Sandy Hook tragedy. Her love of animals and the world around her are the driving force behind the Catherine Violet Hubbard Foundation, whose mission is to celebrate the lives of all animals. Rescue Rebuild, a GreaterGood.org program, is working on a project to build the Catherine Violet Hubbard Animal Sanctuary, which will be a place that celebrates and supports animals while providing a beautiful resource to the community. The Happy House crew was thrilled to be invited to get an up-close view and help with the project.
After Catherine died, she was one of the first graders at Sandy Hook. We decided that we wanted to honor her life. We weren't sure what that really looked like, but over the course of the past 3 years, it's evolved into what we think she would just love and adore.
She every day was really taking care of animals, even at her young age, whether it was at the bus stop trying to find a stray cat that was nearby, or releasing a caterpillar, onto a tree branch that was too close to where the kids were playing.
So it all started when we asked for donations to be sent to the Animal Center of Newtown. So we figured we could honor the cats and dogs and feed them or treats or whatever. So Animal Center comes back to us, and they had taken all of the money that came in Catherine's memory, and they set it aside and told us it was close to $125,000.
$125,000.
And that their goal, they had thought through a sanctuary. That's kind of what they were thinking about. Rescue was new to us. I didn't realize there was this huge network of people doing amazing things. So when they described a sanctuary, Bat and I said, done.
Yeah.
We could see Catherine. We could see her, the way that she used to play. It was always revolving around the welfare of animals. So we started down this path. The state conveyed the 34 acres of this pristine farmland over to the foundation 2 years ago.
It's beautiful out here. Yes.
It's beautiful. You get on the property and you just center yourself, and it's just this serenity that we just know that once we start having animals and programming on site, people are just going to embrace what it is that we're trying to accomplish here.
What Jenny and Matt Hubbard really wanted to achieve is they felt that had Catherine continued on her mission, that she would have brought more people into the educational world of animal welfare and how to be good keepers of animals and good friends of animals. And so that's what they really want to preserve, is not only what her vision would have been for herself, but what she would have given back to the community. They're trying to give that back now.
What is the end game? What is this whole area going to become?
The Hubbard Foundation really wants this to make a very green space. So there's going to be a community garden. There's also going to be educational programs. There's going to be a vet clinic. There's going to be an animal sanctuary. It really is a community animal welfare dream.
We've been working with Rescue Rebuild for about a year and a half now. Bryn and her folks came out and they looked at the property, and they were like, yeah, we've totally got this. Yeah.
And I want to say, when Bryn came out here, you couldn't even see the barn. It was completely covered with overgrown
I have seen
trees.
pictures.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got this. What was your first thought when you came here?
Kerosene bulldozer.
Okay, perfect. Kerosene bulldozer, that's all that's needed.
Bryn crawled in through the back door, was kind of broken, and she went and she said, yeah, this is going to be beautiful when it's done.
The Hubbards really wanted to preserve the old rustic feel of this barn. It's, as best we can tell, built about 1915, and there's a lot of really neat structure in there, really rustic. They wanted to preserve that.
Before we even got here, this barn was covered in asbestos shingles that were dangerous for us to remove, so we had a company come in and remove those safely, dispose of them. And then when we got here, we were faced with a whole host of different graffiti and damage. We spent about half of the trip so far just fixing all that and getting to zero, basically.
One of the joys of working in old buildings is that there are always surprises. When we started taking the shingles off of this roof, we discovered that the whole back of the barn had been getting wet for years, and there was a lot of rot, as you can see on this rafter here. One of the other things that we discovered was that this entire beam was rotted out. And this wood is not wood that you can go to the lumber yard and just buy. This is an old beam. And so we locally sourced a new one, and we cut it to fit where the old one was. So we're all set here, and now all we have to do is put it back together.
I've looked at the full scope of the project. It's big, really big. But we're here for phase one.
Absolutely.
And what are you hoping to accomplish this phase, and then what's next?
So Rescue Rebuild is strictly worried about the barn. That's our big part of this, not the main scope of the project. So phase one was just to basically get the barn back to being sound. There was tons of rot. The roof had failed. There was rot underneath the structure. So our plan, get it safe, get it watertight so that we can preserve it for the next phases. We're going to come back for phase two in October. Part of this whole project is also that they've promised to do a stewardship program with the land. They have to return it back to its native, which is hard to do. So lots of invasive foreign plants, that all has to be cleared out and maintained. So that's going to be a huge part of phase two, and then also maybe insulating the barn and getting it a little bit more weatherproof in terms of temperature.
And then phase three?
Phase three, that's a good call. So the end use of this is going to be farm animals. And so we want to do some pasture fence. They've got this really neat idea to bring in what they call a wood miser. He brings in a portable mill, actually. And so they're going to timber some of the trees on the property, keep it nice and green, and actually make their pasture fence out of timber from their own property. So then we would set the pasture fence, do some of the fencing for the animals.
It's such a great project.
So neat, right?
Today, the Happy House joins Rescue Rebuild, a greatergood.org program. They're working on a project that's going to help many, many animals and an entire community.
We're in Newtown, Connecticut for a build that's benefiting the Catherine Violet Hubbard Foundation. Catherine was one of the little girls that was killed in the Sandy Hook shooting. So we're working on the first phase of that, which is to restore this barn behind me, which will eventually be part of an education center that includes farm animals. And so this build has been particularly rewarding, especially because of how thankful the Hubbards have been to us, and just how the community has really stepped up to be a part of this, and to have volunteers every day, to have food for us every day. It's really been amazing.
What they're doing here in dedication of the young girl is pretty amazing. I mean, talk about, you know, dealing with the family and being able to participate in that and being included in something that's got to be so emotional for them. It's huge.
The end plan for the barn is small animals, small farm animals. So we want to do potbelly pigs, maybe some sheep, some goats, all those silly animals that people think it's a really great idea to own as a pet and then change their mind 2 years later. So that's the plan.
So it's a rescue.
It's, of course, a rescue, a sanctuary, but for farm animals down here.
What have you been doing to help with this project?
All sorts of stuff. I've been painting, lots of painting, clearly. It's definitely hard work, but I like it. It's fun. It's rewarding.
How's it going? Great. I'm just painting some windows here.
Did you guys get more ivy?
It's best to kind of lay low when somebody asks for volunteers to clear the poison ivy.
The community has been so incredibly generous, so supportive. They came out in droves.
Being able to still give back, to still be able to have fun while doing it, it's so worth it. And honestly, like, you're helping changing the world. That's really all that matters. You know, you're giving people chances, you're giving animals chances. It's really all that matters.
This is the second floor of the barn, which will eventually be used as an education center for children. I'm really excited about it because the bones of it are so great. It may not look like much right now, but a lot of work has gone into getting it to this point. I spent about 20 minutes of my life in this corner, scraping whatever was on the floor. We don't need to talk about what it was, but it was strangely satisfying. And look up there. Somebody had a snack. The mice had a snack. What if people don't have skills? Like, for example, myself. I can drill things and that's about it. What can I still come?
Absolutely. As long as you have a willingness to learn, we will put you to work. We'll teach you new things, and there's something for everyone. We've had people that have been pregnant, people that have been handicapped. We've had people that are skilled laborers, skilled carpenters, the full spectrum. We'll find something for you to do, and we'll make sure you're involved in the project.
And that's why you had her sweeping up mouse poop?
I think Bryn assigned me that job.
Occupational hazard.
I had no idea, honestly. I had no idea what I was getting into. I knew that we were going to be working on a barn. The extent of the work on the barn, I did not know. I am ready to go home. I'm going to go home and I'm going to sleep for a week. At the end of the day, you know, we all gather at the pavilion and have dinner together, and we have dinner with Matt and Jenny, and that is the reward at the end of the day.
Who do you want to volunteer for this, and how important are volunteers to you?
I want every single person in this country to volunteer. We have a really great statistic. If everybody between the ages of 15 and 60 gave 1 8-hour day of their year, that would be the equivalent of all 14,000 shelters in the United States having 65 full-time employees added to their roster. The power of volunteerism is immense. You don't need to be a skilled carpenter. Come lend your time, give your time, and that's what's going to change animal welfare in this country.
We have been just floored by the fact that everybody who touches this project, their hearts seem to connect with it, and Rescue Rebuild they saw it and they stuck with it. It would have been understandable for them to be like, this is great, timing's wrong, call us when you're ready.
Right.
But Bryn has just stayed at the heart of it and brought Rescue Rebuild here to do something that is unfathomable. 2 weeks and we have a barn.
Can you tell me more about the butterflies and what that means for you and for Catherine?
My favorite just image of her is she would sit in this garden. She would have some sort of butterfly in her hand and she'd be talking to it. The message was always the same. She would send it off and she would just ask it to tell their friends that she was kind, because she knew that they would come back to her. And it's so, I mean, for us, we were never surprised because they would come back in droves.
Right.
And just her wisdom, you know, that's kind of where we center ourselves, that, you know, if we just accept people and beings and all the creatures for who they are and what they stand for, then we're honoring Catherine and the lessons that she taught us. My mother-in-law, we moved to a new house, and she had said that Catherine told her that there was going to be caterpillars on that tree.
Yeah.
She was like, you wait, there's going to be tons of caterpillars on this tree. And after Catherine died,
There they were.
tons. So as people get involved with the foundation and they start doing projects like this or working on the property or attending programs, you know, our hope is that they get a sense of Catherine and what she was all about.
Yes, that's a great story.
Yeah.
Thank you for talking with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
To learn more about what the Catherine Violet Hubbard Foundation is doing and other Greater Good projects, visit our website.